Excited by quiet power? In a world that often rewards noise, there are those rare figures who wield influence through steadiness rather than spectacle, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, has quietly become one of the monarchy's most trusted anchors. How does someone transform from a background presence into a linchpin for an ancient institution under modern pressure? Over more than 25 years, Sophie and her husband, Prince Edward, chose a different path than some of their more headline-grabbing relatives, a life defined by loyal service, careful discretion, and an insistence on raising children with ordinary freedoms. That choice matters because the royal family today is not just a line of ceremonial figures but an institution that must survive shifting public moods, media scrutiny, and political skepticism. Sophie's close bond with the late Queen Elizabeth II helped build her reputation as a dependable and steady presence, a person the Queen trusted, often turning to Sophie in ways that hint at affection and respect rather than formality. This was no accidental elevation. It came from consistent, visible work and the quiet courage to reject a life of private business blended with official duties when it threatened the integrity of their roles. Instead, Sophie and Edward embraced the demands of royal life, and Sophie's steady demeanor and approachable character slowly fashioned her into a rare kind of royal asset, someone who can represent continuity while carrying a modern, humanitarian mission that resonates beyond palace walls. Sophie's humanitarian work reads like a serious chapter in the story of a modern royal. She has visited conflict zones in Africa, places where the headlines focus on borders, battles, and political breakdown, and she has turned attention toward a quieter, less covered catastrophe, gender-based violence in war. From South Sudan to the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Sierra Leone, Sophie sought out survivors, met local activists, and used her platform to highlight the scale of suffering that often goes unnoticed in international discourse. That work earned her major recognition, including the Hillary Rodham Clinton Award, aligning her with global advocates for vulnerable communities. Such accolades are more than symbolic. They enlarge the monarchy's reach into meaningful global issues and help recast it in the public mind as not only a collection of ceremonies but a force that funds, advocates, and speaks for those without easy access to power. In a time when public trust in institutions can be fragile, Sophie's hands-on advocacy offers a human face to royal service, humble, practical, and effective. Title changes in the royal family are carefully watched because they are small acts with big meanings. Prince William's recent approval to elevate Sophie's son James to the Earl of Wessex is one of those quiet moves that make observers pause. Titles are not merely ornaments. They map responsibility, public expectation, and a pathway for younger royals to assume duties that were once the preserve of older generations. James's elevation signals a readiness to bring a younger, trusted member into a more prominent role. At the same time, Lady Louise, Sophie's daughter, is being introduced to public life in a measured way, showing a blend of tradition and contemporary grooming. Neither child was raised as a full-time public royal. Sophie and Edward deliberately chose to shelter them from constant attention, allowing them to attend ordinary schools and encouraging practical skills and humility. That upbringing suggests a modernized approach: nurture character, not entitlement, and allow the young to choose their level of involvement later in life. Legally, they could adopt styles like His or Her Royal Highness when they reach adulthood, but it is unlikely they will exercise that option. Their upbringing reads like a conscious experiment in creating royals who are comfortable with service without being consumed by it. Can quiet values sustain an institution that has long relied on spectacle? The British monarchy stands at a crossroads. King Charles is older and facing health concerns that naturally narrow his public role. Queen Camilla's acceptance remains uneven, and seasoned figures like Princess Anne continue to serve diligently but represent an older generation. Against this backdrop, Prince William's role shifts from heir apparent to an active architect of a streamlined monarchy. His moves, including the reshuffling of titles and subtle changes in public responsibilities, suggest a strategy to reduce the number of working royals while concentrating influence in those deemed loyal, stable, and relevant. By elevating members of Sophie's family, individuals with reputations for calm, service-oriented leadership, William may be betting on continuity through dependability rather than charm alone. This practical, almost managerial approach to monarchy is a response to modern Britain's more questioning public, a nation that values transparency, humility, and purposeful service over inherited privilege left unexamined. Sophie and Edward's decision to raise their children out of the intense royal spotlight has deeper consequences than simply privacy. It is a philosophical statement. Titles and privileges do not automatically create character or competence. Instead, Sophie emphasized allowing her children to live as normal a life as possible so they can develop independence and a sense of personal responsibility. This parenting choice is more than family preference. it is an institutional experiment in modern monarchy. By resisting the default script where royal children are groomed from cradle to crown, the couple has opened the possibility of a new model: adults who can choose responsibility deliberately, who understand work and accountability before assuming public roles. Lady Louise's appearances, often graceful and understated, reflect this upbringing. James, now Earl of Wessex, may chart a different course, perhaps combining public duties with a private life that avoids undue attention. The underlying message is clear: a monarchy that allows its younger members autonomy could appear more relatable and legitimate to citizens who increasingly judge institutions by deeds rather than lineage. Sophie's role within the family extends beyond the public eye into the delicate rhythm of palace politics. Her reputation as a trusted confidant and steady supporter made her a figure of interest during transitional times. Royal commentators and insiders often describe her as a secret weapon for the monarchy, not because she seeks limelight, but because her presence steadies the institution at moments when it could easily wobble. Her humanitarian credibility and measured public presence give the family a modern face, a bridge between traditional ceremonial authority and the moral energy that contemporary audiences respect. In a period when scandal can fracture public sympathy almost overnight, Sophie's consistent discretion and clear focus provide a contrast to more turbulent narratives. Her work demonstrates how soft power, empathy, reliability, and substantive advocacy can be as decisive as the ceremonial power of crowns and titles. Trusted individuals carry the burden of representation and charitable engagement. The consequence is a more efficient, if leaner, institution that aims to maintain cultural relevance while limiting vulnerability to public relations crises. This approach acknowledges that public tolerance for pomp without purpose is waning. It also reflects a pragmatic attempt to distribute responsibility where it is most likely to produce enduring public trust. Shifts in titles and responsibilities also signal internal priorities: loyalty, stability, and modernity that William and his advisors might prefer to emphasize. Elevating James reconnects a thread of continuity with Prince Edward's own title and hints at a plan for a dependable cohort of younger royals who understand the weight of tradition without being consumed by inherited privilege. Lady Louise's measured emergence suggests she may serve in roles that require dignity and poise rather than sensational public exposure. Together, their trajectories suggest a balance between preserving ceremonial lineage and nurturing a practical, service-oriented compact within the family. This blend could help the monarchy retain its symbolic power while aligning more closely with contemporary expectations of public service and accountability. The monarchy's challenges are not merely generational, they are structural and cultural. Britain's diverse population and evolving values demand an institution that can resonate with broad constituencies and not appear out of step with modern life. Prince William's strategy appears tuned to this reality: streamline, professionalize, and place authority in those who embody humility and service. This approach might lower the risk of scandal and increase the chances that the public sees the monarchy as an effective steward of national values. At a time when democratic scrutiny is intense and historical privileges are questioned, the monarchy's survival likely depends on its ability to demonstrate usefulness and moral clarity rather than rely solely on tradition or spectacle. Sophie's humanitarian focus points to a model of royal service that meets contemporary expectations. By engaging with issues like gender-based violence in conflict zones, she links the monarchy to pressing global crises and frames royal work as part of a broader moral conversation. Awards and recognition amplify that message, suggesting that the royal family can do more than hold ceremonies. It can spotlight underrepresented causes, mobilize resources, and use celebrity to advocate for systemic change. That kind of influence is precisely what the monarchy needs if it hopes to remain relevant in decades to come. As the crown navigates succession, health, and public opinion, the quietly prepared younger generation anchored by Sophie's family could provide steady hands. James's renewed title and Lady Louise's rising presence are not mere trivia. They are deliberate pieces in a strategy to modernize the royal household while preserving its essential rituals. Those small shifts may be the difference between an institution that appears out of touch and one that evolves with dignity. By grooming members who value both privacy and service, the family may sustain its place in public life without clinging to outdated forms of privilege. There is also a human side to all these calculations. Titles and ceremonies matter because they recognize responsibility and service, but at their best they are tools to enable meaningful work. Sophie's life illustrates that dual aspect. She carries titles and participates in tradition while using her influence to fight real suffering. That combination makes her a different kind of royal figure, one whose strength is measured in empathy and outcomes rather than in paparazzi snapshots or viral controversies. Her legacy could well be an emphasis on quiet competence over ostentation, a model for younger royals to adopt as they step into roles that require both adaptability and moral clarity.
So where does this leave the monarchy?
It is not falling apart. It is being refitted. The palace choreography will change, fewer actors, more focused missions, and a public relations playbook that privileges real-world impact over mere presence. Prince William's cautious steering and Sophie's tireless service both point to a future where the monarchy survives by being useful, discreet, and aligned with modern values. The crown's story will always intertwine ceremony with private choice, and Sophie's family represents a promising chapter in that tale, steady, considerate, and ready to shoulder responsibilities without spectacle. If the monarchy can balance tradition with transparency and ceremonials with service, it may retain the affection of a public that increasingly demands accountability. Sophie's influence inside the palace and abroad demonstrates a principled way forward. Lead through service, protect privacy, and prepare the young to choose their duties with conscience and skill. The quiet reshaping underway, title adjustments, measured public roles, and strategic pruning of active royals, suggests an institution learning to adapt. In the end, it may not be the loudest voices that secure the crown's future, but the steadiness of those who serve with humility and purpose. The story of Sophie, her children, and Prince William's subtle strategy is a reminder that power often shifts not in public pageantry but in small, deliberate acts of planning and trust. As the monarchy enters this new chapter, hidden choices about titles and upbringing may prove as decisive as public ceremonies. Sophie's no-drama approach and her humanitarian work offer a model of modern royalty that blends dignity with effectiveness. If Lady Louise and James step forward to take on greater responsibilities, they will carry not just titles but an ethos rooted in service and discretion. That ethos could become essential as the crown faces fresh challenges in a changing Britain. Before we close, consider this. Can a quieter, more disciplined monarchy inspire greater public confidence than a larger court of public figures? If the answer leans toward yes, then Sophie's family may well be the blueprint for a restored, resilient royal household. Their story is not just about ranks or ceremonies, it is about how an institution adapts to remain meaningful in everyday life. Please like the video and subscribe for more royal stories, deep insight, and calm thoughtful takes every week.